Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 14th of August, now it's 7:30 in the morning Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages for this moment. Second update will be a little bit late in the afternoon, in which I will share all the additional main news that will be reported by Russian media. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Ukrainian special military operation. And let's go from southern sectors and then up to northern ones. So Kherson region, it's mainly artillery duels, recon operations and local scale skirmishes for control over the small islands on the Dnieper River and the delta of this river. No significant changes during the previous 12 to 24 hours, although Russian media did report that pro-Russian underground in the Kherson region did help Russian forces in July to conduct missile, drone and artillery strikes on positions of Ukrainian armed forces in Kherson region, as a result of which a significant number of military equipment and manpower was neutralized. Military personnel and military equipment of Ukrainian armed forces. But overall situation in Kherson region, operational pause or deadlock, and most activity when it comes to close range battles are taking place in areas where Ukrainian forces have some small bridgeheads. Mainly it's Казачий лагерь and Antonovsky bridge area, which is destroyed, by the way. But as we all know, some time ago Ukrainian forces did manage first to establish bridgehead right next to Antonovsky bridge, and just recently, a couple of days ago, Ukrainian forces did conduct landing operation in Казачий лагерь area, settlement, that's the name of settlement, Казачий лагерь, and even though settlement itself under Russian control, Ukrainian forces are dispersed, not far away from this settlement, as I understand, on the bank of the river, and Russian forces are conducting clearing operation to make sure that there is no bridgehead of Ukrainian forces in this area. And by the way, we also have some reports that Ukrainian forces are quite active in the direction of Golai Pristan, here in the southwestern part of this left bank, which is controlled by Russian forces. But in this area we mainly are talking about control over these islands on in the Dnieper river. As I understand, Ukrainian forces have no bridgeheads on the left bank itself. But as I said, the overall situation is operational pause or deadlock, and nothing is happening right now that will influence overall situation on the entire sector. Next is Zaporizhzhia and South Donetsk sectors of the front. Of course, we have two main hotspots in these sectors. In Zaporizhzhia, it's Rabotina area on the southern side of Orekhov city, and even though yesterday there were some reports that were contradicting each other from different sources, among them reports that Ukrainian forces did manage to enter Rabotina and establish control over the northern part of this settlement. This morning I did read report from Ribor, that's biggest military Russian channel on Telegram, and Ribor did report that despite Ukrainian attempts to improve their positions in and around Rabotina, Russian forces are in full control of this settlement. So I guess even if some Ukrainian military personnel did manage to get close to Rabotina or maybe even enter some buildings on the northern parts, then some Russian counteroffensive did happen, or maybe artillery strike or something like that, and Ukrainian forces were forced to withdraw from this settlement. I guess during the day today we will learn, of course, additional information about situation in this area, and probably attempts from Ukrainian side to establish control over this settlement, or at least to encircle this settlement, will continue. But overall situation in Zaporizhzhia sector of the front is also operational pause or deadlock, because nothing is happening in the scale that will significantly influence situation on this line of the front. When it comes to South Donetsk sector, main hotspot, of course, this Vremensky ledge or salient, in which Ukrainian forces are quite active. And by the way, even though yesterday many sources did report that Russian forces withdraw from Urozhaine, as they did predicted, by the way, in previous days, because it's all about Russian tactic of mobile warfare. Whenever any one position is undefendable or requires significant losses to defend, usually Russian units have given orders to withdraw and regain control over the lost territories whenever time is right. And as I said quite a few times, I would not be surprised if Russian forces will withdraw from Urozhaine. But this morning, Rebirth did report that despite all these reports about withdrawal of Russian forces, in reality, southern part of the settlement still controlled by Russian military personnel, and the fighting for Urozhaine continues. Although I think during the day today, maybe Russian forces will withdraw to next line of defense or next strongholds in this area. As I said, for Russian side, for Russian tactic, main point is to save as many lives as possible. So you can always regain control over Urozhaine, Staromayorskaya, or any other settlement, as long as you have a battle-ready manpower that knows that commanding officers are taking care of their manpower. So let's see how the situation develop during the day. I would not be surprised if we will learn that Russian forces did withdraw from Urozhaine. But anyway, this area, Vremensky ledge, not even on the first line of defense of Russian forces in this on this land bridge between Crimea and mainland Russia. Let's continue now. Donetsk direction, always very active. Several hot points. Marinka, Krasnogorovka, Avdeevka, on the southern and central parts of Donetsk sector. Mainly artillery duels between the sides, recon operations, and attempts from Russian side to distract logistical lines that goes through Krasnogorovka in direction of Marinka and in direction of Ugledar area. And by the way, as I said in my previous updates, I would not be surprised if Russian forces will become much more active in direction of Krasnogorovka in attempt to influence Ukrainian forces' ability to conduct this local scale offensive operations, not just in Ugledar area, but also in direction of Vremensky ledge, because Krasnogorovka, as I understand, does plays quite significant role when it comes to logistical lines of Ukrainian forces in this area. But overall situation on Donetsk sector of the front, it's still operational. It's still operational pause, despite heavy clashes and quite significant casualties on Ukrainian side. For example, by the way, yesterday Defense Ministry of Russian Federation did report that in Donetsk sector, Ukrainian forces lost up to 300 military personnel, and I did reported about it in my yesterday's second update. Despite these heavy casualties and fierce fighting, local scale fierce fighting, overall situation is still deadlock, and no one side is able, at least for now, to achieve any breakthroughs on any one direction. When it comes to Bakhmut sector, we did not see too many additional informations about this area. Initiative is in Russian hands, Ukrainian forces, seems like Ukrainian forces definitely run out of steam, not just on the northern flanks of Bakhmut or Artyomovsk, but also on the southern flanks, and its Russian forces are now on offensive, but yet again we are talking about local scale, and nothing, at least for now, is happening that will give any one side a breakthrough. When it comes to northern sectors of the front, even though in recent days we did see some minimization of activities from the sides, and it's mainly artillery duels and recon operations, initiative is in Russian hands, and I guess everybody is waiting when will Russian Defense Ministry give a green light to Russian units to conduct large-scale offensive operations in Liman direction, in direction of Kupiansk mainly. And this is it for this quick summary. I remind you, by the way, that in my list of recommendations of channels that you can see under this video in description box, there are many channels that devote much more time to do detailed analysis of situation on the front line, and you can always check those channels. For example, Military Summary or Alexander Mercury's DPA War or many others. So this is it for quick summary. My channel, this project is mainly about news, so I cannot devote some much more time for this detailed analysis on the situation on the front. Let's talk about some other news now, and RIA Novosti is reporting that Su-34 frontline bombers of Russian Federation did strike 3 locations of temporary deployment of armed forces of Ukraine in the DPR. No detailed information in this report about results of these strikes, how many military equipment or military personnel of Ukrainian armed forces were neutralized, but information itself interesting because recently Russian frontline aviation did become very active in comparison to previous months, which does on its own highlights lack of air defense systems on Ukrainian side. Let's continue. RIA Novosti is reporting that during the previous night explosions were heard in Odessa, and by the way, I did report on my Telegram. This morning Telegram channel about night strikes, night missile and drone strikes on military and logistical infrastructure of Zelensk's regime in Zaporizhzhia and Odessa region, and there were many explosions in Odessa. I guess this was a Russian answer to failed attempt from Ukrainian side to strike Crimea Bridge just a few days ago, and I would not be surprised if we will learn that during this strike Russian side did destroy some locations of Ukrainian armed forces where S-200 surface-to-air missiles have been deployed or have been modernized to conduct land strikes, and maybe also some areas were targeted where maritime drones have been built or stored by Ukrainian forces. Of course, during the day we will learn some more information. I wouldn't be surprised if during the strike logistical infrastructure of the Odessa port also was, or other ports of Odessa region also was strike. And by the way, Ukrainian side did report also this morning that Russian side did use during these strikes 15 Shahid or Geran 2 drones and 8 caliber cruise missiles to strike in Odessa region, and according to Ukrainian sources and statements from Kiev, all these aerial targets were destroyed, which is You tell me how unserious Kiev have become when it comes to this type of statements, when they are shutting down almost or destroying 100 and I don't know, sometimes maybe they are calculating even more than 100% of Russian missiles and drones. They cannot be taken seriously, by the way, because here you can see plenty of videos with the successful strikes. And by the way, also let me show you this video here. You can clearly see work of Ukrainian air defense systems. Missile has been launched and then fell down on the ground straight away. And as a result of that failed launch of Ukrainian air defense missile, there are some reports that this area was hit, which is a supermarket or mega market, something like that, and it did caught fire, that supermarket, and was entirely burned down. And the Kiev, with such a level of operations with the air defense systems, are claiming that they are shutting down 100% of Russian missiles and drones, which is not even laughable at this stage. It's well, you tell me what that is. Let's continue. I believe Russian Defense Ministry will share with us additional information during today's briefing. And of course, I will share this information on my Telegram and in my second update. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that EU bureaucracy did come up with a statement that since the February of 2022, EU did deliver 20 billion euro worth of aid to Kiev or Zelensky and his associates. Quite a significant amount of money. Well, and I guess this constant flow of money and weapons from EU to EU member states to Ukraine will continue, because I have some doubts that all these 20 billion euros went to support Ukraine. I guess significant part of this money end up on offshore accounts of corrupt bureaucracy in Ukraine and in the EU. I'm quite sure about it, really. So as long as they have this opportunity to enrich themselves, of course, they will continue to transfer more and more money and weapons to Ukraine. And by the way, when it comes to weapons, of course, who is the main beneficiary of this? Military industrial complex, isn't it? And just recently, Rheinmetall did record significant increase in orders and a significant increase in their profits. And Rheinmetall not only European giant when it comes to military industrial complex. There are many others. Anyway, let's continue. RT is reporting that, by the way, I did spoke about it yesterday in second update, I believe. But I will repeat it if I may, that Berlin calls for more diplomatic efforts to end Ukrainian conflict. And Olaf Scholz, German Chancellor, did spoke about it, but very same time we do, and I want to highlight this information once again, because how you're gonna take seriously this type of individuals when in one hand they are talking about some peace and peace negotiations, and in second hand, recently there are so many talks that German government basically almost made up its mind to deliver long-range Taurus cruise missiles to Zelensky and his associates. So Olaf Scholz and German government is for peace or for war? You tell me. And by the way, these Taurus missiles are much more capable than British Storm Shadow or French Scalp missiles, especially because of their range. They have a significantly longer range, up to 500 kilometers, and significantly heavier payload, up to 500 kilograms. So it's a significant weapon and serious weapon. And when these missiles will end up in Ukraine, and it will unfortunately happen, or maybe already did happen, Russian side will be forced to come up with some serious decisions to make sure that Ukrainian side would not have an opportunity to strike deep inside Russian territory with such devastating weapon. I mean, 500 kilograms of explosives. Just imagine how huge damage can be done if such a missile will strike civilian area in any city or village. Let's continue now, and the Kommersant newspaper is reporting that on the forum, during the forum Army 2023, which will take place from today up to 20 of August, Russian side will deploy trophies from trophies that are manufactured in NATO member states, and that was captured during this special military operation. Well, it's gonna be quite interesting exhibition, I guess. And whenever Russian media will share with public some video and photo material about these trophies, of course I will inform you about it on Telegram and on my video updates. Kommersant newspaper is also reporting that, according to Le Figaro, one of the biggest names in French media, according to Le Figaro, France is not happy, French government is not happy with the actions of USA when it comes to Niger, and especially Macron and his government are not happy because of a recent visit of Nuland in Niger, when she had a meeting with some representatives of new regime in that country. And main reason that France is disappointed is that France wants his puppet, former president of Niger, to be reinstalled in power, when at least for now it seems like US has some different interests and they want their military bases to stay in Niger. So they are more willing to deal with the situation in Niger in diplomatic terms. And this is not the first time when US completely ignores interests of France, or let's say interests of ruling class of France. If you remember, just about a year ago, if I'm not mistaken, US did manage, US and UK, both countries were all involved in this, and they did conduct negotiations with Australia, as a result of which Canberra dumped contract with France on submarines, and contract was for $30 billion, if I'm not mistaken, maybe even more. And instead of French submarines, Australian government made decision to buy nuclear submarines from US. So, if ruling class of France unable to learn, I don't think these kind of surprises will, I don't think France ruling class is just unable to learn, by the way. That's why they always are surprised that Washington does something that not in interests of French, or UK does something that not exactly in interests of France, or even damaging interests of France. But yet again, that's a type of elites that modern France has. So they will always stay surprised, I guess. That's their fate, to be surprised forever. Anyway, let's continue. And by the way, when it comes to Niger, this morning reports came on media that on Russian media that military leadership and new government of Niger did agree to conduct negotiations with the ECOWAS countries, and yet again it seems like despite initial strong statements from ECOWAS about with ultimatums and threats that military actions will be taken against Niger, seems like situation is calming down, and even negotiations will begin fairly soon between new government of Niger and ECOWAS, which is great, by the way. Any deal is better than war. As simple as that. Let's continue. TASS news agency is reporting that in an air show in Michigan, Soviet-era MiG-23 fighter jet did crashed. I did share a video about this incident on my Telegram also, and both pilots did manage to eject from the plane. They are safe, and there was no reports about casualties on the ground when plane crashed. So hopefully it will stay this way. There will be no casualties on the ground, but fact itself that MiG-23 was participating in the demonstrative flights in air show is quite interesting. Let's continue. And RT is reporting that US further upgrades Russian wheat export outlook. Well, as we all know, Russia is one of the major breadbaskets of this world, and according to US data, Russia will is projected to send 48 million tons of wheat for export in the current agricultural year, and this is 500,000 tons more than US was predicting previously. Anyway, Russia is, as I said, a breadbasket for this world, and as long as Russia has enough wheat, countries in need worldwide can be, can be sure that in no circumstances, even if they have no money to pay for Russian grain, let's say, they will receive some support from Russia. And by the way, Russian agricultural sector is becoming bigger and bigger year on year scale, and I guess in 10, 15, 20 years time, Russia truly will become a major, not just one of the major breadbaskets of this world, but major one. And Russia has all the opportunities, all the resources for it. And of course, it's going to be a great source of income from Russian Federation. And this is going to be last news for today's updates. Experts are predicting yet again difficult times for German economy. Well, this is not the first time when media outlets are writing about possible difficulties in German economy, which is already experiencing some significant issues because of expensive energy, and this time a very saying was said by German official, a member of experts council in the German government on economical development issues, on issues of economy and economical development. Veronika Grimm, that's a person that we are talking about. So she said that in coming years, in foreseeable future, German economy will face severe difficulties, especially because of high energy cost. And by the way, who is to blame? I mean, who is to blame, really? Unfortunately, because of these difficulties, ordinary citizens of Germany will suffer. First of all, they will lose jobs, or they will experience significant increase in spendings because of high cost of energy, and as a result of it, increase in inflation. But who is to blame? Leadership of Germany, which is, I mean, probably most anti-German government and leadership that this state ever has. I mean, our members of our community from Germany can share their opinion, what they think, but I guess this current government truly are most anti-German from all the others. And this is it for this short update. Oh, it's still 31 minutes, but shorter than 1 hour videos that time to time I was uploading. So hopefully you will find this update interesting and informative, and if so, please click that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos or my channel with your friends on Twitter, Facebook, Telegram, or any other platform that you are active on. That will truly help to reach wider audience, I believe. And if you think this channel or project is interesting and deserves to exist, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, buy me a coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. You will see links under this video in the description box or in the pinned comment. This is it for now. Have a great day, and I wish you a great, successful new week. Take care, and see you in second update.